Krug, always good to catch up with you on a Monday. And wow, where do we even start? The defense could not get off the field. The offense could not stay on the field. And the one time special teams has a pretty good game. Well, there was no complimentary football to be played. That was just too much comfort from Houston top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, and did the special teams really have a good game? I mean, Pinheiro made no field goals. They allowed Houston's coverage unit to down them on the 1 yard line late in the game.
That's true.
I mean that right there makes it just kind of not a great special teams game. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, compared to past special teams games, it was one of their better performances. But yeah, it's a rough Monday for sure. A lot of people losing faith, I'm sure, in the 49ers, but they're 5-3 and they've got a great conference record. They got a great division record. And I think you just got to get beyond this one, watch the film, learn your lessons and move on as fast as possible.
And there's a lot to dissect, and they had a long flight back from H-Town to do it. And I'm sure the coaches huddled together. Just so many breaks. Obviously, you don't have the same players, and we'll get to ultimately who they are and not what their record is right now. Sometimes you are not who your record is. But in any event, to me, the main problem was third down defense. There were sweeping problems throughout the entire day, certainly pass protection and everything. But the third down defense, Larry, it just broke down over and it was all different downs and distances. And Robert brought pressure a lot in the game and didn't in others and whatever it was. I mean, he's so good at, 3rd and 3 or less. You play man. You don't have to bring pressure. Then, you drop back into a zone on third long. They gave him up all ways. 9-16 on third down, 1-1 on fourth down. To me, the Houston Texans and their coaching staff led by D'Amico attacked the 49ers where Atlanta should have been attacking. More in the middle of the field, pick on the young eyes of the linebackers, the safeties, not so much outside. C.J. Stroud is a much better quarterback than Michael Penix Jr., but as you watched it and then rewatched it, and we're going to break it down in the playbook probably tomorrow because they were all different downs and distances, different guys busting, but the common denominator, they could not get off the field on third down. Why not?
Well, first of all, if you looked at the third down numbers for Houston, they were like second in the league on third and less than 5, but third and 5 or more, they were 32nd. So they're not good in third and long, and the Niners allowed them to get in third and manageable much of the day. I thought the two things that stood out, I mean, there were a bunch of problems, but the two things that stood out, the 49ers allowed Houston to score on 6 of their first 7 offensive possessions, okay? The tackling was really, really poor. Even when the line got penetration and Marks or Chubb were kind of halted in the backfield, nobody wrapped. And so there were second efforts where they got 5 yards, 6 yards, 9 yards. I mean, it was the tackling was horrible. Typically, and Greg, you know this, I mean, it's about fatigue. If you see guys falling off tackles and guys not making tackles, it's usually there's some fatigue involved. So maybe that was part of their issue. But then I also thought they mentally shut it down defensively. You're going up against a quarterback that is operating behind a bad line, that doesn't have a good rapport with receivers or running backs. He's got rookies everywhere you look. And there's no real speed edge that makes you go, oh no. The Niners should have been hugged up way, way, way tighter on Xavier Hutchinson and Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins and Woody Marks, and to just allow Stroud, who's coming off a disastrous performance against Seattle, to get rhythm. He was 23 of 28 in the first half, and many of those were pitch and catch. Many of those, the 49er defender was playing loose. I thought the coverage was way, way, way too loose, especially when you factor in that there wasn't a burner involved there that you had to really fear. So soft coverage, poor tackling, those two things really I thought were their death knell.
Krug, I think about the Niners team and how they're going to have to win games this season. And the reality is that with some of the injuries they've faced, and particularly the two big ones of Bosa and Warner, they're going to be a team that plays in a lot of close games and probably have to win a lot of close games. And they've done a really good job of that. But yesterday, you didn't get the opportunity for crunch time because that first half in particular was just so bad. And then the second half, They go 3-and-out. Hutchinson gets the long touchdown. It was just a little bit too much out of reach. We went into the defense. I want to go to the offense. Why was the offense so out of rhythm? I mean, I know there's a lot of different factors. Would you say the main one was just simply that Will Anderson and that Texans front was giving constant hell to San Francisco to where life was never comfortable for that run game or for Mac Jones?
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones was under duress. I mean, love Colton McKivitz. He's one of my favorite guys to talk to in the locker room, one of my favorite guys on the team. He got abused. He got absolutely worked over by his man. And, I mean, first of all, this Texans defense gives up 14 points a game, and the Niners scored 15. So, I mean, they pretty much did what I expected them to do. My predictions on the Niners winning this game were like Niners 17-9, Niners 17-12. So for the Niners offense to be held to 15, I don't think it was even that unexpected. To me, it was CJ Stroud to be able to have just an amazing day and them to dominate on third downs and to do it without Nico Collins, their number one receiver. I wasn't expecting that. I expected the 49er defense to play better. The 26 is more surprising than the 15 to me.
And they did it in the last 31 minutes of the game. They didn't have a damn first down the first 29 minutes of the game, and they had a chance to tie it at the end. Just Juwan did not sell the sluggo on the double slant nearly enough there. So Juwan is back, and he's contributing. I still think he's a little bit off, but you got George Kittle back as well. You're there every single day. You get there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You listen to everything. You look them in the eye. I'm the boy in a bubble. I don't know. But just your feeling. And the national media, as it pertains to Brock, makes it sound like Brock's coming back at any moment. I don't think he's practiced at all with the team. You got to jump in with the team. You can't just do everything with the Dustins on the side. You got to jump in and take team drills. So just go through it. When do you think these guys are coming back? The calendar's going to turn. We got Halloween on Friday. November is when the real drive starts in football. Assuming it's November, is it closer to Thanksgiving than Halloween? Brock Purdy's return, Brandon Ayuk's return, Ricky Pearsall's return. I'd throw Ben Barch in there as well at left guard. I think Spencer Burford could mix in a little bit and take left guard as well. You got Brendel as well because the pass, pro's just not been good enough. But as far as the pitch and catch guys, Brock, Ayuk, Ricky, closer to Thanksgiving or closer to Halloween when they come back, if in fact they come back in November?
Yeah, I got to think Ricky is back either this week or next week. As far as Ayuk, I think Ayuk is probably, I said it at the beginning of the year and I'll stay with it. I think Thanksgiving is about for Ayuk. So maybe the Panthers game, maybe the Browns game. Kyle said last Friday for the first time, Greg, that there's a possibility that Ayuk could have his practice window, his 3-week window, where they, have the ability to put him on the active roster for a 3-week window. That could open as soon as 2 days from now on Wednesday. So that's something to look for. But I still think Ayuk, he's going to return. If he returns at all, he's going to return in the back part of the window. As far as Brock Purdy, the doctor that I had on, who's not Brock's doctor and not privy to Brock's, imaging and never has looked at it, said that you want to give turf toe, if it's legit turf toe, a legitimate 6 to 8 weeks. So and that's from when you usually last, really played on it. He played on it in Jacksonville. So Rams would be 1 week, Bucks would be 2 weeks, Falcons 3, this week Texans would be 4. So I think you're looking at least 2 more games for Brock being out. I think he's out for sure the Giants game and the Rams game, which would be 6 weeks. My guess is that he returns in the second half of November, Cardinals game or Panthers game. So I think you still got, 2 more games at least of Mac Jones at quarterback before you can expect Brock. And even then, I think, if they're smart, they would give him, especially if the Niners are winning games, if you win the next two games, I think I might give Brock even a couple more weeks after that, because the more rest, the better from what I can tell.
Well, and they got that infamous MetLife turf, which we got into a little bit on Friday when you were filling in.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting storyline to follow, as a lot of guys are already down, and the Giants had a big loss themselves with Cam Scattaboo yesterday, which was a tough sight. Okay, Krug, trade. I think the trade talks between the timeline happening in 8 days and the way that the pass rush looked so invisible yesterday, it's starting to heat up a little bit. I guess the simple question here is, what are you willing to give up in a trade? I think a lot of us are envisioning a day one pick being devoted to the offensive line. Day two picks, would you be willing to go there for the right player? Or is it maybe just try to find more of a Bryce Huff type acquisition where you only have to give up a day three pick and you can get some good value for somebody like that?
I think you got to go into this deadline with two mindsets. I think the one mindset is, what piece could you get for cheap that can help you win games right away? And then also, you're clearly still in kind of a building mode. Is there a player that you really love that's available at the deadline for a cheap cost? I mean, Roger McCreary just about a half hour ago went to the Rams, but if you saw what they got or what they traded, it was an unbelievably great deal for the Rams. The Rams got Roger McCreary and a sixth for a fifth. So they basically just moved from the fifth round down to the sixth round and got a starting caliber corner in Roger McCreary away from the Titans. So that tells me that the price tag in the trade market is going to be low. And that you're not even probably going to be asked for your number one pick. Or if you are, it will be easy to say no because nobody's offering their number one pick. I would move my number two pick or my number three pick, what you call day two picks, round two or round three, but only if I'm getting somebody who I contractually control beyond this year. And I think that player has the potential to be, a real star. I mean, this is the franchise that traded for Trent Williams. This is the franchise that traded for Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. Those guys weren't rentals. They were foundation pieces that the Niners added at the trade deadline and kept well beyond that season. And I would take the same approach here. The two names that I've seen that are like, whoa, are you kidding me? Are Quinnen Williams of the Jets.
Whoa, are you kidding me?
He's out there according to the reports. I mean,
now what would you have to give up? You'd have to give up
the word is a second round pick.
Day one.
The word is, Greg, you'd have to trade a second round pick. But I mean, I would definitely call the Jets because of Robert Saleh's connection there. Quinnen, Quincy, Michael Clemens, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, any combination thereof. And if I could trade, I would trade that second round pick and even trade a conditional pick if I could get a player like Quinnen Williams. The other name that I think is I gotta at least take this phone call if I'm John Lynch is there's a lot of talk by Diana Rossini this morning or this weekend that the Jaguars are going to move Brian Thomas. And the Niners don't have that vertical X receiver that is absolutely a difference maker that makes opposing, coordinators stay up at night. Brian Thomas, for whatever reason, has had a bad start. If you go look at Brian Thomas's year last year, who made Brian Thomas's year? Mac Jones. Mac Jones to Brian Thomas was an unstoppable force for like 5 straight weeks. He's a vertical X receiver. He's 90th percentile wingspan. He's 6'3", 210, 4.33 speed. They don't have a vertical X boundary receiver of note. I know they got a bunch of receivers, but nobody like this guy. He's rare. He's in a bad way right now. I think you could get him for probably a song compared to what he's actually worth. I think he could be the focal point of this offense going forward. I think he's one of the best young receivers I've seen come into the league in a long, long time. So, yes, if I could get a difference maker like a Quinnen Williams or a Brian Thomas, I'd be interested. But at the same time, I'm also interested in a defensive edge piece if I could throw one in there as well for this year. But I think they got to think this year and next year. No rentals. The Trey Hendrickson, no. Anybody who's a free agent, no. But if you're a big-time player and the Niners really like you, I mean, why not? Why not? You tried to get that big defensive tackle with Hargrave. It didn't really work out. Quinnen is significantly better than Hargrave.
He's a beast. There's no doubt. He went number 3 overall in the draft the year after Nick went number 2 overall in the draft, after Kyler went number 1 overall in the draft in 2019. I did Alabama in the Iron Bowl that year and watched every snap. He had a dominant. Honestly, I had a hard time picking between Bosa and Quinnen Williams, but because
Yeah.
Nick is an edge guy. They went that way. But and then as a pro, he took him a little while to figure out when Saleh got there, he became a monster inside. And could you imagine? Bryce Huff on one side, Nick on the other, Quentin Williams and Michael Williams inside. I mean, that would be the gold rush. As far as Brian Thomas, what is wrong with him this year? His wrist early in the year, but now I think he's over the wrist. He's dropping everything. He does not look like the same guy. Obviously, his rookie year was as dominant as everybody. Maybe not Malik Neighbors dominant, but close. So that's the Jacksonville coaches. Somebody tell me what is wrong with him in 2025 after 24. But I do hear you. Ayuk's an ex-wide receiver, but he's got to come back and show he's healthy, and that may not be this year. So when Nick went down after week 3, Larry, in the torn ACL, we asked you, can the Niners win? And that means can they win their division? How high can they be in the NFC? Can they still be a top seed? Can they win the NFC and get to the Super Bowl in their home stadium? Now we got Fred Warner after week 6, the ankle injury, and he's gone. And now you see him picking on Tatum Bethune in coverage, and it's not his fault. He's not Fred Warner. And there's no pass rush at all. You're going to have to trade for multiple guys to come anywhere close. So let me ask you, you've always been optimistic before the year, 11 wins. You still thought they'd be competitive after Nick. The team that you saw yesterday, the team that you saw the week before against Atlanta, can they win? Can they win their division? Where are they in the NFC? Right now there is 6-7 in the NFC. Can they make the playoffs? What can the Niners win in 2025 if they don't make a huge trade between now and tomorrow week ago?
Well, their defensive equation, I think, is bogging down right now. So I don't think they can win without some defensive help, because right now you've got a bad combination. You have a really young secondary. I like a lot of those guys. They do as well. But you got to be able to speed up the quarterback and move him off his spot if you have a young secondary. And they don't have that ability right now. So they're going to get Huff back. And that's going to help. But I think without some more help on their defensive front, I think they're going to struggle all year on the defensive side of the ball. As far as the offensive side of the ball, to me, it's all tied to their ability to run the ball. And I thought we saw that run game come back against Atlanta. But I'm also a believer that they need a more dynamic receiver. I think the way when you watch the All-22 and you see the lack of space that exists on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of that's because they don't have a receiver that anybody is really worried about down the field. So until they can put a receiver on the field and stretch the field and kind of make the defense guard the width and the length of the field, they're going to have some struggles on offense, and I don't think they can do it defensively. So I think, they're 5-2. They've got a very favorable schedule, or 5-3, I should say. They have a very favorable schedule, but it's looking tougher, and all these games are going to be tough if you can't rush the passer at all. Every quarterback, including Jackson Dart this week, is going to look quite a bit better. I mean, we saw Stroud look terrible against Seattle on Monday night, and then picked the Niners apart and completed almost 80% of his passes in the first half because the coverage was so soft. So they can do it on defense because Saleh's a great coach, but they have to have a really well-coordinated plan, and I think they need a little help pass rush up front. And then offensively, I do think they need to invest in a more dynamic offensive weapon and take some shots down the field to loosen up the opposing defenses. But I think it's there for them because look at the division. I mean, look at the conference. Tampa's really banged up. Green Bay looked really good last night. But they don't look good every week. Detroit looks good. Philly looked good yesterday, but they had a couple rough weeks. The Commanders aren't quite the same team. I think the Niners potentially could beat Philly, Green Bay, Detroit, Tampa, Seattle, the Rams, even on the road in the playoffs. So they definitely have a shot. But today their equation is bogged down and they definitely need some trade help.
Krug, we always appreciate you coming by with us on a Monday, and a very different discussion that we've had on some of the other Mondays to begin this season. But The injuries are stacking up. That was a tough one for the defense. The offense couldn't move it at all. So we had all of it to unpack, essentially. And on top of that, next time we talk to you on Monday, well, it'll be the day before the trade deadline, and we'll see if the Niners are 6-3 with the win over the Giants, or are they 5-4 and maybe the urgency starting to mount up a little bit more. Monitoring it for sure throughout the week, and we'll catch you on a little Niners Nightly. So do you got the Monday Night Football arrangement tonight where we're going end of Monday Night Football broadcast, live radio, around 8:30?
No. That was because we had the baseball overlap on the playoffs. I believe it's 6 to 7 on the radio tonight on with Monday Night Football. I think on 10:50. So I think that's the plan. So you can catch me tonight at 6. And it's really, the Niners are on pace for 19 sacks. Bosa 3 years ago had 18 and a half by himself. So, I mean, they need some help up front, guys. But I do expect them to get some. There's a number of teams that are selling. So we'll chop it up tonight. We'll take phone calls tonight from 6 to 7 and let Niner fans vent a little bit. And then we'll turn the page on this one and start looking at the G-men.
Krug, we appreciate it.
Awesome day, guys. Have a great one. Great to listen to you guys, Greg, and great to hear you, Greg. Awesome. We're praying for you. Thinking good thoughts, bro.
Thank you, bro. Love you, Larry. And he gets me excited. Quinnen Williams.
Oh man.